Chapter 40. Director Kevin? May screamed as if she had discovered a new planet. Do you think this back looks like Director Kevin's? Karen was originally not interested in gossip from the entertainment world, but when she heard May's voice, she uncontrollably clicked onto Twitter. Polaris's love life was on the main page of Twitter, with a few pictures attached. The first picture was her quietly nestled in a man's arms. The second picture showed their backs that looked like they were kissing. The third picture was of the man carrying her into a mansion. Although the shot was only the man's back, this back was so familiar. She had seen it just this morning. But still, just a back view did not make it 100% sure that this man was Kevin, so she comforted herself with this excuse. However, it was not only Karen, but all the people in the office thought it looked like Kevin's back. Karen could finally confirm that the man was Kevin's, because the woman had a silver-gray suit over her, which was his suit. Karen had known him for a while, and only he wore this color. The others had already gathered together to discuss. Could it be that this celebrity who just turned 18 is Director Kevin's wife? 18 is not the legal age for marriage. I don't think so. You don't necessarily have to get a marriage certificate to be husband and wife. Making love between a couple will do. True. Besides, some people get their marriage certificates, but they don't make love. They are just fake couples with a certificate. The hot discussion between colleagues reached Karen's ears one by one, as if these words were targeted at her. A bitter smile appeared on her face. Could it be that betrayal would never leave her? In her opinion, even if they had no feelings for each other in this marriage, they should be loyal to each other since they were husband and wife. Now that she had just been married for a month, he had already had an affair. It made her feel humiliated. Karen suddenly felt as if the air in the office had stopped. Her heart felt constrained, and her breathing became difficult. She spoke to Cindy and asked for a day off. She wanted to go out and have a good walk. She also needed to face the reality of her relationship with Kevin. On the streets, people came and went. Everyone had their own destination. Only she walked aimlessly, not knowing where to go. From the beginning of her arrival in California, she had always felt this sense of longing. In the past 3 years, she had been working hard to forget about the bad things in the past. Those bad things would always appear in front of her suddenly, and she would experience the hurt and betrayal again and again. Just as she was finally able to face that person again, another blow caught her off guard. Karen even said to herself, "Anyway, it's a marriage without real love. Let's pretend nothing happened and live our own lives like what we did a month ago." However, she also had her own pride. She was obviously aware of this matter, and trying to pretend like it didn't happen was something she really could not do. Karen. A powerful force suddenly grabbed Karen. She lost her balance and fell steadily into the man's arms. Charlie looked at her angrily. "What are you doing? Do you want to die?" Karen pushed him away, but he held her even tighter. When this person, the closest to her, had left 3 years ago, she didn't even think about seeking death. But now, for a stranger like Kevin, she wanted to die. It was impossible that she would contemplate suicide for this. Charlie said, "If I hadn't pulled you back in time, you would have rushed into the traffic." Charlie had said someone to keep an eye on Karen, so when Karen exited the Innovative Tech office, he received the news and came as soon as possible. "What does it have to do with you?" Karen struggled hard. "Let me go first." "Karen, I will never let go." He liked the faint fragrance on her body. Holding her made Charlie feel his infatuation for her again. Even if she was married, he could still make her divorce. No matter what method he used, Charlie had to get Karen back. "Charlie, I beg you, please don't appear in front of me again, and don't barge into my life anymore." Karen stopped struggling and said weakly. Charlie continued to express his love. "Karen, the person I love has always been you. This time, I really want to take you back. As long as you go back with me, I will solve all issues regarding Innovative Tech for you immediately." Hearing this, Karen suddenly pushed Charlie away. She bit her lip and held back the tears in her eyes. "Charlie, do you want me to tear up the bloody scars from our past and show them to you? Will you be satisfied then?" "Karen?" Charlie looked at her with distress. "Don't call out my name." Karen took a deep breath and closed her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, she lost all her strength and muttered, "Charlie, think about it. Do you even think we can really go back?" Charlie added, "Karen, as long as you are willing, we can go back. I am capable now, and the old man at home can't control me." "Charlie, are you really stupid, or are you playing dumb with me?" Karen suddenly laughed and burst into tears. "Karen, baby, I know that issue about Christine had been bothering you, but I didn't marry her anyway." Staring at Karen for a long time, Charlie said slowly. After listening to Charlie's words, she felt that she looked down on Charlie even more. "Men, are they all so heartless? Charlie, I beg you, don't show up in front of me again. Let me live my own life." After saying these words, she turned around and left. She just wanted to walk alone and think about her future. There was nobody she wanted to see or talk to. Duncan walked over to Charlie's side and said, "Master, Miss Karen has gone far. Do you want to follow her?" "So what if we follow her? No matter what I say, her attitude is still so stubborn." Charlie sighed and said, "How is Innovative Tech?" "If Innovative Tech can't pick up a new project, the only way is down for them." Speaking of innovative tech, Duncan was very excited. After the corporation's statement, many small companies dared not work with innovative tech. The sales of innovative tech was greatly affected. This was the most satisfying thing that Duncan had ever done after he started working for Charlie. Is there any movement from Kevin? Charlie asked Duncan, but his eyes kept looking at Karen, who was walking further and further away. Chapter 41, Duncan said. It's strange. That Kevin guy didn't take action on this matter at all. I don't know what he wants to do. Charlie looked away and glanced at Duncan. Did you just say he didn't care? Duncan said. I don't think that this Kevin guy realizes how serious it was to offend you. Charlie said. Then give him more damage. He could only drive Kevin over the edge and make Kevin beg him for mercy. Then he would hint at Kevin to divorce Karen. After that, he will let her go. That will be enough. Karen wandered around, and after a while, she stopped at a famous food street in California. There was delicious food from all over the world on the food street. Along the way, she bought and tasted every food she could see. After she was full, she had her problems all figured out. There was no need for her to torture herself. She will go back at night and have a good talk with Kevin. If the matter was acceptable, she will carry on with the marriage. If not, she can just leave in peace. It was not a big deal. When she got home and opened the door, Momo rushed over and circled around her, expressing her yearning for her mother by barking softly. Karen picked her up and rubbed her head a few times. Little one, I know you miss me very much. Woof, woof, woof. Momo's voice sounded like she really missed her mother. Momo, play by yourself. I'm gonna cook. Karen put Momo down and rubbed its head. Although Karen had already eaten, she still had to cook. Kevin had not eaten yet. She promised herself that as long as they were still married, she would try her best to be a good wife. When Karen had almost finished cooking, Kevin came back from work. Kevin walked to the kitchen and said, Karen, I'm back. I'm almost done cooking. Dinner will be ready soon. Karen looked back at him and smiled at him. Soon, 2 dishes were served on the table and a bowl of rice was served for Kevin. Kevin looked at her and asked, Aren't you eating? I've eaten outside in the afternoon. Karen paused and said, You eat first. I have something to talk to you about after dinner. Disregarding his expression, she simply went to the balcony in the living room and took a watering pot to water the flowers and plants. The house they lived in had 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, 1 kitchen and 2 washrooms. It spanned about 160 square meters. The living room and the main bedroom were the largest, both came with a balcony. It was a big house for 2. Karen had been living here for more than a month, but she had never cleaned her own room. Every day when they were out, someone would come to take care of it. Karen didn't know that someone cleaned the place. She had thought that it was not too dirty because there were only 2 people living here. It was not until the second day after she came back that she saw Momo all cleaned up. Only then did she know Kevin had arranged all these things. Moreover, the cleaners chose to come when they were not at home. The cleaning was also very neat, spotless even. Karen held the watering pot and poured water on the plants, so Momo jumped around her feet, trying to attract her attention. She looked at Momo and couldn't help laughing. Stupid Momo, stop jumping. You are my precious. You already have all my attention. Kevin walked over after the meal. Seeing them were having so much fun, he didn't want to disturb them. Karen felt his gaze behind her. She looked back and saw Kevin's deep and enigmatic eyes. She smiled and said, Are you full? Yes. Kevin nodded and stood beside her. What do you want to tell me? Karen looked at him and smiled gently, her eyes as clear as autumn water. Kevin, I know that you didn't marry me because you love me. If you have found someone else you want to spend the rest of your life with, please tell me directly so that we can make peace. After saying it out in one breath, she felt relaxed. Faye Reed had often said that Karen was stubborn. Karen would not easily change her mind once she set out to do it. Studying, working, relationships, as long as she has set her mind on something, she would try her best. Karen had decided to marry Kevin, and that meant she was determined to spend the rest of her life with Kevin. Now that there was a problem between them, she did not want things to happen like before. She didn't want to wait until things were irreparable. Because she had learned from her previous experience, she felt that it was good for her and Kevin to break up early if it was necessary. Karen? Kevin called her name in a deep voice, his eyes deep and unfathomable. Do you think I married you for fun? Karen scratched her head. I don't know. Before she finished, Kevin pressed Karen against the wall, and his hot lips immediately covered her lips. Karen opened her eyes wide in surprise, and Kevin stretched out one hand to cover her eyes. He held her between him and the wall, kissing her furiously, kissing her lips and tongue, and occupying all her senses bit by bit. At first, Karen still had the strength to push against him. Gradually, her whole body became soft. She held his clothes tightly with both hands and even kissed him back. Kevin always had a clean and pleasant smell, which was very faint. It could only be smelt when she was very close to him. Gradually, she felt as if she was going to suffocate. She was overwhelmed by Kevin's kisses. She never knew that a man who looked so gentle and refined was so tough that he could make her gilt with just his kisses. Finally, Kevin stopped and looked at her red and swollen lips he had kissed. he said in his seductive and hoarse voice. Karen, you are the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. All 28 years of his life, since he was born until he officially took over Rovio Corporation Inc., every single thing he has ever done had a clear goal. 6 years after he officially took over the Rovio Corp, his workload was too much. He had no time for his personal life, let alone spend time with women. When he had met Karen, he had chosen Karen to be his wife. He decided to live with her for the rest of his life. This decision was firm, there was no hesitation. No, Kevin, you might have misunderstood me. Karen pursed her lips and tried to calm down. Kevin did not speak. He raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at her. I mean, although our marriage has no love, we also need to be loyal to each other. You have another woman outside, and yet you tell me that you want to live with me for the rest of your life. This will make me feel your words are just jokes, and I will also look down on you. Karen realized that she could speak so sharply with him. You just don't believe me, do you? After saying that, Kevin held Karen's head and kissed her again. Chapter 42. You just don't believe me, do you? Kevin looked at Karen, and his deep eyes were deeper and more unfathomable. Looking at his deep eyes and thinking of his every move during this time, she wondered if she had thought too much, and wondered if it was ridiculous to accuse him, just because the photo of the man looked like his back. But after thinking about it carefully, Karen hesitated again. Just like before, she had never thought that Charlie would betray her. But in the end, what had happened? She didn't want the things that had happened in the past to happen again. It was better to break up before they feel attached to each other. After thinking about it carefully, Karen said, Kevin, it's not that I don't want to believe you, but I really can't trust you 100%. Besides, we don't have feelings for each other, and few people know about our marriage. It's not a problem to get married after a divorce for someone like you. Karen was very rational and sober when she said these words. She wasn't emotional at all. Only she knew that she felt hurt inside. Kevin had been excellent in every aspect, according to her. She thought they could go on. Is that how you see this relationship? Kevin asked with a frown. Karen bit her lip and nodded. Suddenly, Kevin held Karen's head and kissed her again. No, this time it was not a kiss, but a bite, biting at Karen's lips, sucking her blood like a vampire, and smell of blood erupted between their mouths. Karen felt the pain, but couldn't push him away, so she poked him hard. She used a lot of strength, and Kevin was hurt, but he still didn't let go. After a long time, when Karen thought she was going to suffocate to death in Kevin's arms, he finally let go of her. He looked at her with deep and unfathomable eyes. Do you think you can solve the problem this way? We are adults now. Please face the problem directly and don't avoid it. After saying that, she pursed her lips and looked at him with soft eyes. Now that she had spoken out today, she just wanted a clear answer, but he had used this method to avoid the problem. Karen's calmness and her indifferent attitude irritated him. He thought that even if the marriage between them had no love, it would not be so fragile. He did not know why she would suggest a breakup with him. Karen, it seems that you have forgotten what I said. Kevin coldly said and turned towards the study. Looking at his back, she was stunned for a while. What did he just say? He didn't say much all this while, and most of the things he said, Karen could still remember. On the night of the second day after they lived together, he had a long talk with her. No matter what happens in the future, she should not mention a breakup easily. Kevin was not an impulsive man. He must have considered carefully what he was going to do. Karen hesitated again. Did she really think too much? Perhaps the figure looked exactly like Kevin's, but it wasn't him? Karen took out her mobile phone and logged onto Twitter. It was strange that the most popular news this morning had no further details. Karen thought that perhaps it was just her imagination. At the same time, Kevin received a call from Amelia. She told him about Polaris's scandal, but Rovio Corp had already dealt with it. He should have known that the troublemaker Mia would not do those outrageous things for no reason. It turned out that he had been framed by his sister. At least now he understood why Karen had said those words. He then felt a lot more relaxed. While Karen was hesitating about what to do next, Kevin came out of the study. There was a smile on his handsome face which made her confused. He said, "Is it because of the news this morning?" Karen nodded. He smiled. "Do you think that the man in the photo is me?" Karen asked. "Isn't it you?" Kevin walked to her side and held her in his arms. "Do you still remember the immature sister I mentioned to you?" Karen certainly remembered, and she still remembered the restrained look on Kevin's face when he mentioned his sister. It seemed that he had been worrying about that sister a lot. Then, Karen suddenly understood. "Are you saying that Polaris is your sister? Does that mean you gave me such a hard time because you were jealous?" Kevin did not answer, but greeted her with a smile in his eyes. "Karen?" Karen felt embarrassed. Before understanding what had actually happened, she had already given him such a hard time. This was far from being a good wife. Kevin lowered his head and laughed in a low voice. "Then do you still want to be mad at me?" She didn't say anything and just snuggled up in his arms. Listening to his steady heartbeat, she carefully reached out to hold his waist. Kevin lowered his head, reached out his hand to pinch her chin, and raised her head slightly. "Look at me and answer my question. His warm breath fell on her face, and her delicate face blushed unconsciously. She whispered, "I'm not angry. I'm just sad." Kevin understood her because she had been hurt so ruthlessly. There still must be some doubts and fears in her heart. He lowered his head and kissed her again, which was different from the previous overbearing and forceful kisses. This time, his kiss was very gentle. He licked her lips lightly, as if he was tasting her. Karen did not hide and responded clumsily to his kiss. However, as they kissed, Kevin's big palm slipped through her clothes and touched her breasts. Karen's body stiffened. She subconsciously grabbed his hand and blushed. She said, "I?" Kevin stopped and rubbed her head. "Don't be afraid. I promise I will keep every word I said." "No, I'm not afraid," Karen said in a low voice. He said that he would not force her to do something she was not willing to do. But she was not unwilling. She was just a little nervous. Karen spoke in an awkward and adorable manner, which made Kevin really feeling like eating her. He smiled and asked, "What, are you not? I have to go to work tomorrow. I'll go to bed first." Karen found a random excuse to escape. Kevin was always attractive, but when he was gentle, he made people feel powerless. Before she was ready to make love to him, Karen felt that it was safer to stay away from him. Otherwise, she would not realize it even if she was eaten alive.